between the stars and stains of Los Angeles, where dreams come to dry, a different kind of Western survives. This city might have hung up its spurs, but a cowboy heart beats strong within these hills. From the honky-tonks of Hollywood to the desert stars that drown the downtown lights, the Gold Rush State still has hats for halos and horses for wings. Frontier to the silver screen, the spirit of the West still burns bright, steadfast, eternal. In the city of angels, there are lone souls keeping the West alive. So long live California Cowboys.
The new DJI RS4 Pro's out and the full ecosystem. I hope you can hear me. It's very windy. I'm sick. I overspent on money. Crew and friends all still came out. There's a whole ecosystem that DJI is releasing that works seamlessly, not only just with their gimbal stuff, but with all their focus motors, their LiDAR, anything from an AC to a gimbal operator and everything in between. This whole ecosystem is going to make all of our lives easier.
Honestly, I'm just sick of them not taking me serious.
Watch this. Can you do it? Watch this.
Obviously, this is going to be an overview of the new DJI RS4 Pro and the RS4, but also the new Focus Pro system. The whole reason I wrote that treatment and put that whole shoot together was I tried to create shots that utilize the whole ecosystem because it covers everything from solo shooters, smaller like 2 to 3 man band productions, all the way up to big time productions. I wanted to really show that off with that film that we did. There's a lot of handheld stuff. A lot of solo gimbal stuff. Perfect solo operator setup here. A lot of team gimbal stuff. We rigged up a Super 73 with the whole cinema arm. Oh, wait. Bro.
Oh, shit.
Bro. Sam's more talented gimbal op than I am. That's what he does every day. We're switching off because he got a little bit wobbly, but to be fair, it's top heavy. So the gimbal starts throwing around and it throws the whole balance off of this. Like I've been riding motorcycles for like 10 years now, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with this. Hopefully I'm not jinxing myself to crash right now, but so rigged out my Bronco with the cinema arm and we were able to, have an AC and a gimbal op and just, you guys will see, it's amazing what we're able to do with this ecosystem. This will be a handheld unit. This is actually the original, well, not the original, it was the most recent LiDAR. So it does work with this whole setup as well. We'll have an Atlas Mercury on here, and this is gonna be our handheld unit with the smart LiDAR focus grip. This thing's really fun to use for handheld, especially for when we're working with wild Mustangs. They're gonna be sporadic. You're not gonna be really good tell what they're about to do. So we're gonna see how the LiDAR holds up on there. Cool little rig. Shout out to Tilta for loaning me their cage, and to B&H for loaning me the FX6. It's gonna be our whole unit for the roller shots, any handheld stuff we do. But yeah, so this will be our roller shots. To run this setup and not have to, figure out how to put transmission systems on there and your focus motors, this hub right here from DJI connects everything and also powers everything through the gimbal. This is what's pretty sick about this. You don't have to worry about, how am I gonna power the LiDAR, focus motor, transmission system. It all gets powered through the gimbal here, just through this one little hub here. So you can see it goes into 2 ports here. One side comes out, 2 ports into the LiDAR. One cable goes into the focus motors, and then you could daisy chain focus motors from there. And then another one goes into the DJI transmission. This is where this new super long battery comes in handy, because this whole setup, when you're running the LiDAR, we stick out like a sore thumb out here. Focus on there and the DJI transmission, all attached into one simple gimbal unit. It eats up the battery pretty quick. So if you plan on doing a setup like this, you Should probably get this. From there, in control mode, A mode is set to the focus grip. So from here, our AC can run focus and zoom. Little zoom rocker here, and they get their own monitor. And then the other person who's doing the gimbal operations, they'll have their own monitor and they'll be able to control the gimbal and pan, tilt. They could do the gyro follow to where the monitor controls where the gimbal's doing. This is one whole ecosystem. 3 of us guys can run this whole thing and do a pretty epic shoot. We have 3 Atlas Mercuries, and we also have the Blazar Remus. So we're gonna be swapping through all of these throughout the shoot. We also have the Nanomorph Zoom. So finally, guys, we're able to use a LiDAR with that handheld unit without any gimbal setup at all because of this guy right here. You can see this kind of looks familiar to like the standard grips that plug into the gimbal heads. We just have a port in the front. One goes to the motor and one goes to the LiDAR. You can run dual motors on here too. You just daisy chain them. In order to dial in the LiDAR autofocus, it feels more intuitive now for some reasons. I'm gonna go to the back of the LiDAR here. I'm gonna go to my lens profile. I'm going to go into C2. Previously, you're only able to save up to 3 profiles, but now we still have the C1, C2, C3, but when you go into it, you can add more. I'm gonna go and set my focal length. Again, this is the Mercury 42mm. It's gonna calibrate it. So I think technically you could save anywhere from, I think like 15 lenses. So you guys see I'm at 1 meter back here. That's focused. Okay, so I just click that bottom, that little white bar. And now it's gonna have me go back to 4 meters. Meters right there. Again, the LiDAR is telling me how far I am. I'm gonna roll the focus dial, and that's it. So just those 2 markings, that's all you pretty much need to do. I am in AMF mode, with the mode I like to do, because you can see when I walk in, the focus dial is going in. The focus dial right here. The focus dial moves live as the focus moves. Say if you feel like the LiDAR is about to jump to a different subject, basically how I use this now is I ride the dial and I kind of control it. I feel every little thing that the focus motor does. You guys can see it jumping. So the dial follows the focus, and again, you can ride that and hold it. So say if I don't want it to jump to the car, I'm gonna hold the dial and it's not jumping, but if I let go, it'll jump. It's pretty sick. So you guys can see in the wide mode, it does face detection, and I'm just gonna click the trigger. So now the focus is going to follow him there. So wherever I go, you guys can see in the AMF mode again, the whole dial is spinning with it. So I could stop it, I could let go, and it'll rack focus to his face. We can also go into flex spot. Flex spot, you could control the size of the box. So say if I wanted to track Sam's boots, you can see I could put a little box around it. I'm gonna click the trigger, and now it's tracking his boots. You can see when I move, legit full on like in camera face detection autofocus tracking. It's pretty wild. Also, I forgot to mention, do you guys remember on the previous RS gimbals, they had like a weird 13 or 12 millimeter focus motors? We don't have to deal with that anymore. That was the most annoying thing ever. It's finally a standard 15 millimeter rod mount. This is just, that's probably the biggest difference on this. First half of the shoot, I wrote this whole treatment out. 2 other days have gotten canceled, so I'm a little bit stressed. I'm a little bit sick, but we're still out here doing this. Spent a bunch of my own money on all this, and I'm hoping it all comes together. And then we're filming with this guy named Chris. He looks like a badass. He is a badass. We're gonna work that Mustang a little bit, maybe do some riding stuff, and then we're gonna hop down to the dry lake bed, 2 or 3 Cowboys, gonna race alongside a dirt bike. It's gonna be dope. Again, this whole ecosystem from DJI just makes all this stuff way easier to do, to manage. All right, guys, for our gimbal rig right here, we're using the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, the new one, because it does open gate. So we're shooting 1.5x. We're shooting the Blazers on here, but Sam's gonna be using the LiDAR on here. We're gonna do a shot where he's just tracking Chris, our cowboy, doing a saddle carry, and then he's gonna come over here. We have a Mustang over here. It's a bit ornery. Just center him, and he's gonna be carrying the saddle. He'll probably be holding it like this. So when you're able to, and there's stuff going on, get close into the action and catch it. Cool about this, we decided to throw a transmission on so I could let some of the other guys operate. Then when we go into our roller shots, we're gonna put the transmission onto the other setup, and everything's gonna work seamlessly. Whatever you're doing, whether it's handheld, on a gimbal, rigged to a car, whatever it is, everything just seamlessly, you know. Basically with this new LiDAR, you're going to be able to see further, and it's gonna be able to track even tinier objects. This is the previous LiDAR that was out. This still works with this whole system, but this one's definitely more accurate and a little bit more precise and just confident, I would say. Guys, so on our handheld unit here, we're actually using the LiDAR that came out during the RS4 Pro, and it works just fine. You just gotta update your firmware. So on the handheld unit, we have the LiDAR focus grip. attached with the Atlas Mercury 42mm. And then our gimbal over here, we have the latest LiDAR, Atlas Mercury 72mm FX3 on the gimbal with the whole LiDAR hub. So I'll be able to monitor it. I can help with focus if I need to, or gimbal operation, whatever it is. And obviously DJI is sponsoring this overview. I guess we'll start off with the RS4 Pro. I'll put all the upgrades that they gave us on this. I think the biggest upgrades for me is one, so some people might think this is a small thing, they changed the coatings on the arms. So a lot of the times when you're doing heavier setups, this axis right here, a lot of times you loosen it up and you would try to go to slide it to, to balance it, and it would be sticky. So they changed the coating so it slides a lot better. If you're having trouble moving this axis, it's because you have a lot of weight here. So you simply just put your hand underneath the camera, lift the weight, and all of a sudden this moves like nothing. That was the trick with the previous one. That's still the trick with any gimbal, really. We're also getting their new 4th generation stabilization algorithm. DJI is already the top dog when it comes to gimbals, and they're just giving us all the updates or with the little quirks with the previous system. RS4, we haven't talked about this much in the video. This is great if you have a smaller setup like this, if you're not doing any just crazy big lenses. This does come with the focus motor though, if you buy the combo, and you can still run cinema lenses on here, but obviously the payload's going to be lower. The cool thing is on both gimbals, we now have a mode selector, a physical mode selector here on the side. So instead of going through the menu and doing all that, you can now just toggle through it from here. And then on the other side, we actually have where you could do gimbal control, or you could do zoom control. So I'm connected to the FX3 through Bluetooth right now, so I can hit record to record, or I could flip the switch up right here, and then with the dial, I'll be able to do clear image zoom, or if you have one of their power zooms by Sony, it will actually control the lens as well. Also guys, the RS4 now has the RSA communication port. That's basically those little electronic contacts on the side attachment part. So if you have any like the control handles or any of the extensive control ecosystem stuff from DJI, you'll now be able to use it with the RS4. Still the same weight capacity, but there's been plenty of times that we push the weight with like red cameras and cinema lenses on there. But the motors are even more torquey and stronger now. When you are pushing the limits on this, the motor's gonna hold up even more. The other thing on here, I don't utilize this as much because I don't shoot vertical content, but this whole piece comes out right here. You're then able just to click it in right there, and also your camera will be mounted vertically there. So I've been spending the past 3 weeks trying to rig everything out. Shout out to MovMax for sending this out to me. We're gonna put the RS4 Pro on here, whole LiDAR setup, everything that we need in there. Again, this whole DJI thing, it's an ecosystem. I pretty much got everything pre-rigged out in my house, but we haven't actually tested it. Front trailer hitch on my Bronco goes, we just got some ratchet straps here. This thing is solid. Sam's kind of like the go-to guy within our group for any roller shots. Sam will be able to fine tune everything a little bit better than what I was able to do. The RS4 Pro, we have a car mount mode. If you're not in that mode and you're doing a setup like this and the gimbal's upside down, it won't calibrate it. Once you put it into that car mount mode, it'll start calibrating it. They're fine tuning all the adjustments. So instead of, the algorithms for the stabilization accounting for handheld, it's gonna account more for motions like this. Sam, what'd you just say?
Cam was right. It doesn't balance. It doesn't calibrate because it needs to be horizontally straight up.
See?
So,
Can we get another take for clean audio? Just closer.
So right now we're focused on my face. You see, that's the LiDAR. That's what the LiDAR's seeing right there. So if I zoom in, we're on a parfocal anamorphic zoom. This is the Lao Nanomorph. We're in the wide mode. The wide mode does a really good job on tracking faces. We do have this in AMF mode. So if the LiDAR's gonna skip, we can easily take control and we can use the focus wheel here and just go into manual mode. Just click here. You see this goes into autofocus, manual focus, and then AMF mode. So if we need to, we can easily just go in manual focus mode, and there you go. And we still see the LiDAR, and the LiDAR still tells us what's in focus and what's not in focus. And now we're in AMF mode. So you can see all the movements. If we have maybe go in and out from frame again, you can see whatever the focus motor's doing, it's translating it here to the focus wheel. Say if Sedona's gonna ruin the frame here, I could grab onto here, and you see it's fighting my hand there, but I could take control, run it like a regular AC, or I could let go and let the autofocus do its thing. Again, while the LiDAR's doing focus, we can do the zoom rocker and it's gonna hold focus. This is a crazy setup. When your LiDAR's back here, it's gonna block the LiDAR and it's gonna cause issues with autofocus because there's just this big old lens halfway in the frame. Luis created this contraption. This is basically lens mount support. He screwed it into the top of the lens, put a cold shoe mount, and then he put the LiDAR on top of there. So shout out to Luis for doing that. So, but when you're on shorter primes, you could just put the LiDAR on the cold shoe and you're gonna be totally fine. Wrap on this. This was super fun. I think a lot of these shots are gonna look bigger than what they actually were behind the scenes. And that's just what this ecosystem is allowing. I remember the first time I got a gimbal, it seemed like, you know, the world has opened up to get cinematic shots. Fast forward to now, just the way that you can rig out a little gimbal like this for like a professional looking shots and team. It's pretty wild. I'm losing my voice as you can hear. Team's hungry. We're gonna get burgers. Yeah. Look at that man.
Activating your move.
How are we looking? Does it look smooth?
Okay.
So we're gonna send over here to see how this does.
Like that.
And then if not, I think us riding this way. Hey, that room's gonna look epic.
Why is it recording?
I gotta get the fire. We'll film all that. After the fire's up,
Hey, do it again.
1, 2, 3.
No, do your cool thing.
Huh?
Do the cool thing. I went over budget on this video. I put a bunch of like over at least